All right, gamers. What is up? As many of you probably know, at this point in the day, the big GUI patch has just dropped, patch 1.7.0. And I have not seen the patch notes yet. I know roughly what's in here just because I had access to the creator build and the early build of kind of what was going on, but to my understanding, some new stuff is in here. So we're going to go through this real quick. I'll give you the TLDR on the patch notes because I understand that there's a lot in here. Notably, they did not put my video as one of their favorites. Very sad. Very sad. And super notably, Rivals is 50% off on Steam. So if you don't have Rivals 2 yet, now is the time to buy it at 50% off. And I very much recommend that you do, because the game is excellent. You also get 20% off the pool party bundles, which is sick. I really like the Slade pool party bundle, and all that good stuff. And if you are here joining me right now, you also get Twitch drops. If you're watching this on YouTube, I will be streaming for the rest of the week. And if you come in and tune in, you can get some Aether bucks, a purple GUI skin, and some Aether dollars. As well, use code NURSE if you're buying any of these skins. I know I'm definitely buying these ones that I quite like. So, keep your eyes peeled. I think these ones are really cool. I'm not a huge fan of this one, but say lovey. New features. Okay. Gameplay modifiers. This is something that we've known is coming based on the preview build, but very exciting. We're going to have more to talk about on this later. Matchmaking improvements. I heard that there were issues for people dodging. And so they've implemented a way to include bans, which I think this is something that people have been asking for. I think it's going to be very positive. You can queue doubles, crews, and free-for-all locally. Again, very cool. Do this on your own PC. And with some friends. Okay. Big balance change. Gameplay modifiers. This is a lot of ways that you can change the game. And I encourage you guys to mess around with this. Shields on and off, grads on and off, ledge on and off, knockdown on and off, floor hug on and off when attacking, crouching only, knockdown only, auto floor hug only. A couple of different things that you can turn on here for floor hugging to kind of customize that experience for yourself. Tilt cancels. This is one I was specifically asking for that they added for this patch, so very happy about this. Drifty Eye, Whiff Lag is new. I didn't actually have access to this, so I didn't get to mess around with this one in particular. Hip falling, baby dash, quick parry, quick wave dash, knockback damage, shield damage, that whole thing. Intangible ledge regrabs, and preserve intangibility on off. This one's particularly interesting. I like this one. Hold to taunt, just prevent people from taunting. I saw some people saying that they had problems with accidentally taunting, so this will just stop that for you if you check it off. Characters now have a small hurt box on the ground during their dash, run, and run turnaround. Again, pretty standard. I think this stops stuff from high profiling, low hitting moves while they're dashing. Again, I think universally probably a good thing. Holding up on the joystick will now only cause a full hop if jump was started with tap jump. You couldn't short hop while holding up. I think this is a thing for tap jump players, presumably. Probably more just a quality of life thing. Hopefully that feels good to play with. I don't play with tap jump. Wall jump vertical speed will now decay 15% of its current value each use. Decay resets. Okay, so every single time that you are knocked for a wall jump, you will not wall jump as high. This is going to make edge guarding easier across the board. It's going to make being off stage riskier. I like the change. It means you can't just rinse repeat recoveries forever. During states where you can aerial drift, you can now wall jump without holding your joystick towards the wall if you have used all your double jumps. Okay, this is one that Dan's been complaining about for a while. Effectively, if you jump while close to the wall and don't have any other resources. You don't have to be holding towards the wall anymore. It's a quality of life change, but hopefully it shows up as nice for you guys. You can no longer drift away from a wall if you've used all of your double jumps and have a jump input in your buffer. Okay, this goes in conjunction with this. Where you're just going to get more consistent wall jumps off the wall, even if you're not holding away, if you've used all your inputs. Plat drop is now processed before attack inputs. Okay, this means that when you're plat dropping, so just dropping through a platform, you are going to more consistently fall through the platform while attacking as opposed to getting an aerial input. Again, quality of life change, pretty good. This was annoying. Just a little bug fix that made you instantly throw items. This happened with Slade every now and again. New stats added. So this is a big one. Effectively, what this does is they can tone down the velocity of characters. Effectively, the TLDRs, they can more precisely affect when characters die based on their max fall speed. And so what they can do with this is adjust it if characters are living too long, not living long enough, without necessarily making a wild change to like the feel of the character, which is good. Standing grab ranges decreased almost universally. They're not reviews for Master, Maple, or Absa or Olympia, whose grabs are already very short range, but grabs decreased across the board. Again, pretty good change. Grabs universally were pretty big, and there were a couple of characters that had like big grabs, and so that was something to look out for. Standing grab start up 7 to 6 frames, so standing grab's going to come out frame 6 instead of frame 7 now. And that is because of the following nerf. The input buffer will now be shortened to 2 frames at the end of shield stun, and at the end of hit stun after floor hugging. It will also be shortened to 2 frames after you hit a shield with an attack. Effectively, without needing to read all of this, what all of this means is if you hit a shield, you only have a 2-frame window to buffer like a jab on shield that comes after now instead of the normal, I think, 6 frames. And the same goes for the other way around. If somebody hits my shield, I only have 2 frames to input a grab to get a frame perfect grab. So you're going to have a little bit more leniency, especially at mid-levels with pressuring shield, because people are not going to be as fast as they were before necessarily. So I'm interested to see how this plays out, because in my testing of it, it didn't really come up, but obviously I have like a higher level perspective where I'm usually hitting the timing anyway. So I'm curious, people let me know how this ends up feeling for you. Shield health gained on hit reduced from 50% to 25% of the attack's damage. Effectively what this means is when you hit somebody attack after your shield is hurt, it restores less quickly. So it means shielding is implicitly a little bit more risky, just because you're not going to be able to retain or get that shield back as quickly when hitting people. So again, a little bit of a nerf to shields, not so bad. Shield dropping during the shield release state will now require a down press if you were holding down when you started shielding. Apparently people were getting unintended shield drops because of this. I never experienced this, but it sounds like a quality of life sort of thing. You're late. I was at work. I have a job. Relax. Tech inputs will now be accepted during the first 2 frames of hit pause. This extends the tech window for all attacks, but it's meant to help taking against quick hitting moves. Again, a little bit more lenient on the tech window. This isn't that big a deal. I think for the most part, this is going to feel the same. For bouncing off the ground after getting spiked, the minimum remaining hit stun range required for bounce off the ground after getting spiked in the air. Someone said something about Zetterburn and Absa, and we'll get there. I haven't read that yet, but we'll get there and then we can have a conversation about it. The conditions for bouncing off the ground after being spiked in the air were too strict. It basically never happened. The new values make it more feasible and will lead to more varied combos at high percents. Okay, so you're more likely to bounce off the ground after getting spiked instead of just crumpling on the ground. Potentially fine. Getting crumpled on the ground is universally pretty bad, so getting the bounce actually might get you out of some combos that you weren't getting out of before. You can no longer wall tech while in tumble. This interaction allowed players to drift into the wall and tech it even after being launched in the opposite direction. I don't know how this is going to manifest. This could be like a nothing burger. This could be a huge change depending on how strict this is. Effectively, what this is saying, it'll be harder to detect if you're locked straight away from the wall. But without knowing how strict this is, it's pretty hard to know if this is actually going to manifest in a meaningful way. Seems like you're not going to be able to tech as easily. This is after anything that would hit you and put you into tumble. Yeah, I don't know, kind of weird. Characters would slide along walls instead of bouncing off them, even while moving towards them. So we're lowering their threshold to cause more wall bounces. This one wasn't as much as a problem as the ground bounces, but if they want it to happen more often, fair enough. I don't know if this will have a super meaningful change either. Actually, you know what? It might make some moves like Rano back air better. Or worse, depending on if it makes them easier to tech. I don't know. We'll have to see how this ends up feeling. Might not actually mean anything. Post parry forced ledge hang is now 40 frames. Okay, so now after you get parried at the ledge, you're stuck there for 40 frames, which is a pretty big nerf to characters like Slade and Loxodont, whose recoveries are pretty easy to parry. Again, presumably you'll be able to tech unless this is super strict. So we'll have to see how much this ends up mattering. That being said, you should get a hit now, at the very least, instead of nothing, which is what you got before. You can now release ledge during the post parry force head time to instantly go into the ledge slip state for what? The reward for parry moves was too low so that the recovering player could essentially ignore it. These changes significantly increase the reward for parrying offstage opponents as they will be vulnerable to attacks after grabbing the ledge. The parried player can opt to release the ledge to avoid an otherwise guaranteed punishment at the expense of putting themselves in a vulnerable state offstage away from the wall. So if you release the ledge after, you go into ledge slip for 28 frames, so you just fall. And so if the person reads this, you can potentially get an even bigger punish. They kind of created a mini game after ledge parry. I'm curious to see how this plays out and if it ends up feeling good. Quality of life change. This will prevent people from flying as far after you parry them. Again, quality of life change. Some rolls were going too far, making them too safe. Tech roll and get up roll speeds have been reduced almost globally, and a few rolls have been shortened. This is crazy. So reaction tech chasing is just going to be easier. There's going to be follow-ups that maybe weren't true before. This is very good for characters like Zetterburn, Rano, the faster characters that relied on tech chasing. It's going to be even simpler now. Probably be pretty good for Lorena as well, if I'm being honest. You'll be able to catch more people with side B as Lorena, which is very good. Stages seems like quality of life stuff. Okay, so I'm imagining we're going to see a lot of this. Isn't it bigger for slow characters that couldn't catch rolls before? It's bigger for slow characters if they literally couldn't do it before, and it creates situations where they can. But characters like Rano put you in tech situations all of the time, and their game plan revolves around tech situations, and so it's going to be more significant for the characters who's like that's a more central part of their game plan because they're going to miss it less. Okay, so rolls shorter across the board. I feel like we don't need to read this for everyone. Double jump animation slightly raised. This reduces the disjoint of his ledge grab boss while double jumping. Interesting. It's a little easier to hit while grabbing the ledge. Fair enough. Aerial down special now prevents aerial opponents from ground bouncing after hitting them. Okay, so just making sure combos, that's like a reactionary change. Down air active frames 4 to 3, down air sour spot, and sweet spot moved. So the new one is smaller and is active for less frames. This doesn't matter. Sorry. Like, this is nothing! What did they think this was gonna do? This might as well not even be here. This might as well not even be here. This is nothing! Alright, so Zedebrin got a nerf to his jump, a small nerf to his down air, and a nerf to his grab. Rano, nerf to his grab. Mostly fine. Bubble cooldown. Went to 60 frames. Fair enough. Dive kick landing leg, so a little bit more landing leg if you land on the stage with dive kick. A little bit of a nerf to Rano's on-stage game. And the dive kick hitbox, it doesn't have this upper hitbox anymore. Only exists on the first active frame. And now it has a lower, looks like a lower new frame, which is kind of nice. Better beating some moves from below. So a little nerf, little buff. Nerf to the aerial drift after you get that you get after using the spin. Fair enough. This was pretty annoying. More of a quality of life thing. You'll get used to it. Forward air recovery, 28 frames. So you're not going to be able to follow up an aerial forward air as quickly, and they made the sour spot send further away. So, decent nerf to forward air. I mean, forward air is still kind of a catch-all move, and I imagine it will still be extremely good even with these nerfs. So I'm not too worried about that. 4-strong Basmo sour spot, again, quality of life thing. This shouldn't matter. It is interesting that Rano got more of a nerf than Zedderburn, but we'll keep moving on. Rano's still fine. This is not, again, not super meaningful. This is little stuff, just to make it feel a little bit better. Okay, similar changes to Raster, slight vertical KO buff. Nothing too crazy. Up B, tiny bit bigger, so it's going to be easier to land up B out of shield. A little bit more forgiving. I'm fine with this. Raster's not the best character as is, and so this is a relatively small buff, all things considered. Raster is a character that relies pretty heavily on tech chasing, so he gets buffed by the tech changes in general. Craig, pretty big grab range nerf is the first thing I'm seeing here. Thank you very much for the follow. Opponents that land on a pillar during an air dodge will no longer gain intangibility if they were in the recovery window of the air dodge. Okay, this is just like a bug, seemingly. And no hit stun multiplier on neutral air because it doesn't combo into grab anymore. Okay, fair enough. Nothing too much for Craig. Again, I don't think Craig needed much, and this is a pretty significant grab range nerf. Looks like they squished him. Slow fall duration, 60 to 45 frames, so you can't stall as long off stage as Fleet. I like this change. Pretty significant grab range nerf as well, if you look at how big the difference is there. Light special will now reverse based on which side the opponent is on its first active frame. Fair enough. A little consistency in terms of counterplay. Ooh, a couple of Nair nerfs. Sweet Spot, only active for 2 frames instead of 3. It now has a Sour Spot for 1 extra frame. 2 less damage, which means it's going to be less safe on shield, which is nice. Sour Spot damage, also they're going to be less safe on shield. This move will still be safe, but it won't be uninteractable to some degree. Forward throw initial toss is now untechable. You can't tech the initial toss, which is good. Some bug stuff. Down throw startup. So 5 extra frames to react to the correct DI on down throw. You're going to get out of fleet stuff more consistently. This is, again, nothing too crazy, but a decent nerf to fleet. I'm actually not too mad about this one. I think it's pretty measured. These all make sense to me. I'm pretty happy with that. I don't mind the Rano nerfs either. If I'm being honest, the Zetter nerfs just feel like blatantly not enough, but the fact that Rano and Fleet are getting hit harder than him, I think says something. Maple, they're nerfing the end leg of Forward Strong. Not really necessary, but if you feel like it. Forward air, more damage, also making it -4 on shield. Okay, so this means if you perfectly hit a forward air, it's not grabbable, which is great for Maple. This is gonna come up. This is really nice. And then down throw recovery, it's going to be easier to tech chase. So 2 like fairly meaningful buffs to Maple, a pretty not meaningful nerf. I think if you're a Maple main, you're decently happy. Again, they probably could have done more than this, but it's pretty measured response. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't be too mad. Grab range, pretty significantly reduced. She really puts her fucking arm out there. That's crazy. Okay. Grab range reduced. That's it for Claren. No other hits for Claren. That's fine. Molten Boulder intangibility frames on spawn from 6 to 3. Won't be as protected by the large intangible hitbox for as long. This was really annoying. When you went to go hit the boulder and it was fucking invincible for 9,000 frames. This will actually make a meaningful difference because it means approaching Loxodon actually means something now. Especially if he's just spamming neutral B. So I really like this change. This is a change I would have made. Down special is now reset its attack count when using level 1, 2, or 3. Interesting. Okay, so it's just like a little tiny bit more of a recovery and disadvantage mix-up. Pretty huge standing grab nerf, if I'm being honest. That's like a meaningful difference. Jab 1 no longer leans back as far. This was also super annoying. I like this nerf a lot. Jab 1 active for less frames. Okay, so really trying to balance out Jab 1 a little bit. Strong sweet spot can no longer reverse hit. This shit was fucking annoying. Thank God, if I'm being honest. And down air no longer squishes as far up during startup. This is really funny. It's a really funny difference. So pretty, again, decent Loxodon nerfs. Aether Fight Night. Hello. Decent Loxodon nerfs. I'm not too mad about these. I think, again, probably could you have gone further? Yeah, but it's a decent bit more significant than what Zetterburn got, if I'm being honest. And it hits some problematic things. Should have removed his axe? Yeah. Get rid of that shit. Okay. Grab range nerf. Frames between bubbles. From 7 to 6. Puddle will now disappear after being deployed for 12 seconds. This is a gigantic nerf. There's no way about it. This is likely the biggest nerf that any character's getting. Again, was Orcane this like problematic demon that was dominating the meta? I don't know. That it demanded this kind of change. But here we are. So, fuck Orcane. Bubble lifetime. The intent of these changes give Orcane less time to react to the opponent's ASDI while still allowing for follow-ups. Again, another nerf. Bubble hitbox, more consistent. Up air, more landing legs. You can't juggle as easily. So some pretty relevant Orcane nerfs. Probably the most heavily nerfed character this patch, unless there's something crazy down here. The character's still going to be fine, but this is a a very relevant hit, and you will feel it more so than you're gonna feel what happened to like Rano or Zetterburn. All right, Forsburn, a little bit easier to hit on double jump, standing grab. Worse. Powered Special Pummel. Forsburn spawns a clone who then throws the opponent in a random direction while Forsburn is enabled. So it allows you to have throw combos. That's interesting. He can also command the super clone to attack without performing a pummel himself. That's weird. And Ledge Attack now has a hitbox on the bottom. Okay. Wait, Forsburn handoffs. Why not? Why not? Give Forsburn handoffs. So overall, a Forsburn buff, relatively speaking, that's fine. We out here buffing Forsburn. Standing grab, ooh, really significantly reduced. And less resistant to vertical KOs. Ice armor can now only be removed when Atlas is hit with a hitbox or thrown. Okay, so you won't lose it with passive damage now. That's fine. Neutral special does almost in your entire shield now, so you cannot shield neutral special. Pretty nice buff. Not that it comes up very often, but sometimes it does. Another nerf to his recovery. Pretty significant is anytime you press up B now, whether you get hit or not, it will increment your up B and you'll go less far. And a little consistency fix for Armstrong. So I'd say overall, probably a buff for Edalus. Or he goes even. Nothing too crazy. Olympia. Crystallized opponents will now break out of the crystal when colliding with a ceiling. Totally fine. Forward special gem hit leap window duration. Okay, so now when you grab the gem, you can hit the button again to throw it. This was in the build that I had. It doesn't come up super often, but it makes this less like piss easy to parry. So it does come off as like a little buff. I'm not too mad about this. Down tilt, all hitboxes increased. This move was too small. It actually feels hittable now, which is nice. I like this change a lot. This is how it should be. Tip hit knockback angle increases the reward for the outer hits of down tilt. Okay, fair enough. Again, making down tilt a bit of a better move considering how small it is. I like this. It's supposed to be one of her better moves. Back throw actually gets a better knockback angle and 4 frames less recovery, which means if people DI back throw wrong, now you get full combo. This is a huge change. Combined with the up throw recovery being cut by 2 seconds, means that Olympia now exists as kind of like a brawler grappler to some degree, where she has relevant throw mix-ups even now that her air mobility got decreased. So I like these changes a lot. They feel good to play with. I got to play with them a little bit. I recommend giving Olympia a go. She's going to feel maybe not amazing, but she's going to feel more playable now at the very least. She's going to feel better. Absa. She's going to be a little bit harder to KO off the top, but still pretty easy. That's fine. Okay, up special more punishable again. Also, up special less damage. They fucking hate up special, bro. Jab recovery 15 frames. And they reduce the size. Sure. Absa too good. You heard it here first. Okay, so you're not going to be able to mash jab out of disadvantage as freely, and you are going to get punished for up special willy-nilly more consistently. Dude, Zahime is in shambles with this. Was this necessary? Probably not. Absa getting hit harder than Zetterburn again. Interesting, to say the least, but players like Ant and those fellas are going to be fine. It's not big enough a hit to really make it that different. Standing grab range reduced. Allows you to get the final hit of jab 3 more quickly. My camera's delayed? Oh, goodness. 1 second. Ugh. The El Gato. El Gato. Oh, wait, Bio. Might have just been for you. What the hell? Okay, well, now it's been reset. Kinda was. Did that fix it? I have no idea if it did. Whatever. We move. We ball. We continue. We ball. Hitting with an attack that sponsors roll now preserved his galvanized status. This means you can go for deep down airs off stage, and there's nothing that your opponent can do about it. This is a pretty significant buff to Galvan's offstage presence. You are going to see this come up. You could argue Galvan was deserving of some sort of buff, but he also did just win Genesis, so I understand why people are nervous about this one, but I think it'll end up being fine. Lorena, pretty significant grab range nerf. Chair will no longer be destroyed when passing the side blast zone. Okay. Slightly, really niche edgeguard thing. Really niche edgeguard thing. Gommel, not Genesis, sorry, yeah. I went back a couple months. Forward special spike hit pause. This makes teching the move more lenient, and you won't be locked out of teching as long. Okay, so you're going to have an easier time teching forward special down. This is one of the nerfs I said should come in, so hopefully this feels good to play against. Up special recovery on hit. This means it's going to be harder to combo out of up special. I think that was something that wasn't really intended in the first place, and up special was a very strong combo tool. I'm curious if 10 frames makes the difference that they think it will, but fair enough. Nerf to up special as a combo extender. Now going to land state when landing on an on-hit recovery window. Sure. Quality of life. Down special's roll resource will now consumed on the first frame of startup. This sucks. This is just a recovery nerf. It means... Oh, and it can't hit projectiles. Okay. So this means that if you get hit anytime after you press down B, you don't get to down B again. Again, kind of niche, but a relevant recovery nerf, especially because it can't go through projectiles anymore. This is going to make it a lot worse against something like Daedalus. Against Daedalus side B is going to be where this comes in the most often. Nerf Lorena's dash attack. Hitbox shrinkage. Yeah. I mean, this move was fucking huge. And it didn't need to be that huge. So, fine with this nerf. Something I suggested that they could look into. Not a problem for me. Forward strong and up strong hit one can no longer hit projectiles. Totally fine. These two are the big ones. Up air recovery after breaking through a table. So after she has already done one up air, she gets, 8 more frames of lag. So this affects your recovery. Because if you're grabbing people multiple times, you're going to fall lower every single time you grab them than you would have before. And it means you're not going to get the triple up air combos anymore. So less 0 to death potential. Again, pretty fair nerf, all things considered, but still is going to show up a decent amount, at least enough that you're going to feel it. Down air knockback angle allows you to DI the move a little bit better. Yeah. Sometimes you're only going to get a fair, sometimes you might not get anything anymore, and you're not going to get true up airs as consistently. off of Dare, and I think that was the problem, was getting true up airs. So again, this is just like hits her cheese potential a decent bit, and I think will bring her a little bit more in line with everybody else. I think overall, like pretty fair changes. I think the Fundies based Lorenas are going to be fine, but definitely something to watch out for. Slade, grab range reduced. You can't bounce on forward special downward. Forward air. One's tip move closer to gameplay plane. So it's effectively a little bit longer. Boomerang will now reflect if it's being parried. Treasure chest can pick up items from further away. Treasure chest can fire items after it's being hit. And the pirate hook hits lower on its first hit. Okay. So overall, this is nerfs for Slade. The grab range is nerfed. The parry thing is a nerf. The boomerang is a nerf. And these like little treasure chest buffs like literally don't matter at all. So, I mean, the thesis of this is if you're playing Sladelet right now, consider not. Sadly. I've said this before, and I think, you know, you just only so many times you can repeat it. I think they don't really know what to do with this character at this point. And I think these patch notes are kind of emblematic of him getting left in the dust a little bit because none of these things matter. And honestly, he's been pretty significantly nerfed by this patch. And then GUI now exists. Okay, so that's the patch notes. It's interesting to read them as a whole. There's a lot of good stuff in here. I think the nerfs to Lorena, the nerfs to Fleet, to some degree the nerfs to Absa, the buffs to Olympia, the nerfs to Rano, kind of the nerfs to Lox and Arcane, all very reasonable. Nothing I'm too mad about. This will even be nice for Maple players. So a lot of agreeable stuff in here. I think Zetterburn getting away with effectively no nerf at all is a little peculiar considering he continues to be the most represented character in the game at a top level. But again, I think at this point it's pretty clear that they want him to be that way, and so he's just a good investment if you're looking to pick up a character. Otherwise, I'm not too offended. I think Zetterburn and Slade are the outstanding factors, but such is life, right? One character's going to be at the top, one character's going to be at the bottom. I'm excited to play around more with this Olympia, though, because I think these changes will make a difference, and I really like Olympia. So,